Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Carrie Seidman, and I'm here with the arts editor of the Herald-Tribune and my boss, Jay Handelman.
You say that with
You're
such
not the
fear.
boss of me, as my sister used to say.
I don't try to be. I want to be the encouraging person. That's you to do things.
Anyway, we have a full slate, so Jay's going to kick it off with a play that I read long ago, and I can't remember what it's about, so he said he's going to inform us what it's about.
Well, that's the whole point of why we're here. It's The Little Foxes, the Lillian Hellman play from 1939 that's opening at the Oslo Repertory Theater this weekend and running until April 15th. It's a new production directed by Frank Galati, the Tony winner for The Grapes of Wrath, who's been directing at least one show a season at the Oslo, and usually beautifully done. And it's a play about a family in Alabama in 1900. Two brothers and a sister, all very kind of greedy people. The brothers have made their fortunes. The sister, who's married at the time, women couldn't own property, so she's relying on her husband, and the family wants to build a cotton mill on their property. And there's a big debate about it because it could be disruptive to the natural resources, and it raises a lot of issues that were important back then but are still relevant today about Mother Nature and greed and money and how we take care of people in the land. So it sounds like a very timely production. I haven't seen this play since the 1980s. I saw Elizabeth Taylor and Maureen Stapleton in a production in Washington, and now it's about to open on Broadway again in April with Laura Linney and Cynthia Nixon. They're going to be alternating. Each night one's going to play Regina Giddens, who's the sister, and the other one's going to play Bertie, who's the sister-in-law. And it should be kind of interesting. So that's opening Friday and running, as I said, until April 15th.
And for something a little more au courant, and very unusual, I'm looking forward to going this weekend to the Ringling to the next performers in its New Stages series. And all of the New Stages performances this year are being done outside because the historic Outflow is under renovation. So this is a very unusual one that has actually been in the works for a year. And the group is called the Institute for Psychogeographic Adventure.
It doesn't sound like a performing arts group, but...
And yeah, it doesn't. And this may not sound like a performance. It's called Experiment 42.000, and that's because they've done other numbered experiments in other places. But the group is from Brooklyn, and what they do is they go into an area and they recruit performers from the area. And by performers, I don't mean necessarily professional performers. Like it could be an English teacher who wants to read a poem, or it could be someone who makes origami butterflies.
Okay.
But anyway, they recruit these performers, and those performers are going to be scattered around the Ringling campus. And this is an individualized performance. So you get a time slot, a 15-minute time slot, or they go off every 15 minutes. And before you take off, the performers ask you a couple questions in order to kind of get a sense of who you are and to tailor your performance for you. And then you go on like a 50-minute circuit around the museum, and you might see, 10 of the 30 performers that they have.
So what you see might be different than what I would
What you see will be different from, probably anybody else's. And then at the end, they kind of have some question, interview, deconstruction, and you can talk with other people who've been on their tours and kind of get a sense of what their experience was. So it's highly unusual, highly individualized, and because they only take one or possibly two people at a time, there are a limited number of tickets. When I last spoke to the Ringling staff, there were only 10 left. And it runs Saturday and Sunday at the Ringling. So if you're interested in what sounds like a really unusual experience, you better get your tickets right away.
Something a little bit more traditional, I guess, is happening at the Manatee Performing Arts Center.
Almost anything is more traditional than that.
The Manatee Players is producing a world premiere, which doesn't happen very often in our community theaters, of a new musical called Boynton Beach Club, which was a movie that actually had its premiere at the Sarasota Film Festival 11 years ago. It was co-written and directed by Susan Seidelman, who had done Desperately Seeking Susan and Making Mr. Right and some other movies. And so she has written the book, and the music is by a guy named Ned Ginsburg, and Michael Colby has written most of the lyrics to this new musical version of a show about residents of a gated retirement community who are sort of, I guess, the best way to say is they are getting back in the swing of the dating life after they've lost spouses.
Gee, I wonder why they're opening that in Sarasota.
Well, they are talking about trying to find a circuit of theaters where it might be played around the state. But, Susan Seidelman has ambitions maybe beyond that, but we'll see. That's going to be running for 3 or 4 weeks at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. So I'm going to be seeing that on opening night and have a review this weekend, and we'll see how it is. I remember seeing the movie and it was fun. But.
Yeah, I think I saw it ages ago, yeah. And for a lot of bang for your buck, actually no buck because it's free.
The best kind of bang.
At Art Center Sarasota, they have 4 shows opening, all with the reception on Thursday night from 5 to 7. And there is one called Spectrum 2 that is a collaboration between 3 artists and some kind of experimental installation. There's something called Beginning to End by an artist, Pepe Alona.
A friend of mine.
Oh, is she?
Very, very talented.
Which sounds interesting. Like it has something to do with fabric and the different sensitivities to fabric. It's all collage work, I believe. There's something called Intangible Corporeal, which is a group of artists also that are dealing with merging the body with physical materials. And then there's something called From Within that's an open juried show of mixed media.
Okay.
So a lot of options there, but they all open with the reception Thursday night.
Great. At the Sarasota Orchestra, the Masterworks series continues with a concert they're calling Titan, and a feature that's being conducted by Anu Tali, the music director, and featuring a flugelhorn soloist named Sergei Nakaryakov.
I'm glad you got that name.
Finally, I got one of the hard ones. He's going to be playing Tchaikovsky's Rococo Variations, and he does a lot of pieces that are not necessarily written for the flugelhorn, written for string instruments, and they've been adapted for him. They're also going to be playing the Overture to Candide by Leonard Bernstein and Mahler's Symphony No. 1. So that's this weekend at the Neal Performing Arts Center and at the Van Wezel. So I want to check that out. And
at 7 p.m. Saturday at the Unitarian Universalist Church. I always get that backwards. Guitar Sarasota will present Duo KM, which is a classical guitar duo, and the KM stands for the 2 performers. I don't know if this is pronounced Katrin or Katrin. Katrin Kleinberg from Germany and Sebastian Montes from Chile. And so they will be doing their concert at the church on Saturday night.
And finally, at the Church of the Redeemer on Sunday, we're noted organist Ken Cowan, who is the director of the organ program and associate professor at the Shepherd School of Music at Rice University, is going to be doing a concert of varied pieces, Mozart and some other composers, and that's going to be at 6:15 after an evensong service at the Church of the Redeemer. It's something you might want to check out. Lots of variety, a lot of music this week, a lot of theater, a little bit of art. We got touching on all the bases. We don't have a dance this week, but
I'll be filling you in on my individualized adventure with a review on Sunday in Sunday's paper.
We'll have all sorts of reviews this weekend of the 2 plays, that performance, and more. You can look in the Thursday ticket section and the Sunday art section, and online at heraldtribune.com/ticket or /arts. And we'll be back next week with more.